All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, all right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 5 day challenge. We are on day three of launching your podcast in 5 days, right? This is a roadmap for you to be able to launch your podcast very quickly. So if you do all of the assignments and everything that's included in the 5 day challenge, you will be able to launch your podcast by the end of the week. Okay. So by introduction, my name is Aldrima Harper. I am a podcast launch strategist, organizing consultant, and host of the Organizepreneur podcast, where I help female entrepreneurs like you who are coaches, consultants, and service-based entrepreneurs to turn their dream, your dream, into an existing, or let me back up here. I'm so excited. I got it wrong. So I help female entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and service-based professionals turn their new or existing business into a thriving, sustainable dream business, a business that provides more time, more freedom, and a business that you love. Who doesn't want a business that they love, right? So welcome to the 5 day challenge. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into some content here. And I want to thank you for joining me, whether you are joining live or whether you are watching the replay. So hopefully you are watching the replay and you are diving into this content. I really do want to hear from you. If you are watching the replay, please let me know. That would be pretty awesome. So we are on day three of the podcast challenge, right? And so what we've covered so far, on day one, we talked about clarifying your podcast niche. Day two, we covered crafting compelling content, which was yesterday. And today we're going to be talking about cultivating a loyal audience. So the thing about this challenge is, and we're going to get to the content very, very quickly here, but the thing about this challenge is that it is geared toward kickstarting your podcasting journey and letting your message get out, get out to the masses, right? So what this challenge is geared to help you to do is create a podcast, launch your podcast so that you can get your message to the masses, right? Because what it does, it provides a learning and networking opportunity. So if you're not in the community, go ahead and join the community so that you can network with other like-minded entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs like yourself. You also get fresh insights, actionable strategies, and advice tailored specifically to your goals and interests. So I want to hear from you so that I can help you reach your goals in podcasting, right? So the initial goal of this podcast is to help you get it launched. Okay, so there are actually 3 phases of this whole thing, and 5 days is not enough time. So there's starting the podcast, right? Then there is sustaining the podcast, right? Well, let me back up. So there's 3 phases. Man, let me slow down. Okay. So there's 3 phases: starting the podcast, streamlining and systemizing the podcast, and then sustaining your podcast. Okay. So that's 3 phases. We're in phase 1. Phase 1 is all about starting your podcast. And so this framework is going to help you start your podcast. So you're going to get fresh insights, actionable strategies to do those things. Start your podcast. There's not enough time to get into how to streamline or systemize it or how to sustain it. That is later, where we take a deeper dive. And if you want to know more about that, then the link is in the chat. Okay. So also foster connections with like-minded individuals, like I was just saying, across the globe, right? this podcast challenge enables you to expand your network, particularly when you go and join the community, because you can share your experiences. There may be opportunities for collaboration with new ideas and things like that. And so you will leave inspired, empowered, and equipped with the knowledge that you need in order to move your podcast forward, in order to start your podcast. The biggest thing that I have seen people procrastinating about, they talk about they want to launch a podcast, but then they just never get started because either you're overwhelmed or you just don't know where to start. So that's what this is all about. I'm here to help guide you through the complexities, the overwhelm, the pitfalls from my experience of launching 3 podcasts, right? I've shared this on previous the past 2 days. I've shared this. I've launched 3 podcasts. The first podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. The second podcast, I launched with my former business partner. And this is my 3rd podcast, which is doing quite well. And so what else? Other things that you're going to get as a result of being a part of this challenge is you're going to acquire transferable skills. Transferable skills. What are you talking about? I'm talking about skills that you can use in your business, right? Transferable skills and that's going to be applicable to various aspects of your business and beyond, which is beyond just podcasting. So if you have a business already, for example, you'll learn content creation, branding, promotion, audience engagements, which are fundamental pillars of marketing and business development in any industry. Doesn't matter what kind of podcast you're doing, what business you're in, these are fundamental skills. So overall, the 5-day challenge is going to provide an excellent starting point for those who are just beginning their podcast journey or their business journey. If you already have a business, then this is going to help propel you in your podcasting journey so you can have a supplemental way of getting your message to the masses, right? This podcast challenge offers practical skills, community support, and a roadmap for success. So why should you be podcasting, right? Why should you be podcasting? Okay, so I'm glad you asked. So number 1, it increases visibility, right? It increases visibility and authority, which allows you to reach a wider audience and establish yourselves as an expert in your industry. By consistently, and that's a key word, consistently sharing valuable content, you'll be able to attract new clients or customers and just strengthen your brand if you do this consistently, right? Content marketing opportunities. Reason number 2 for launching your podcast. When done right, your podcast serves as a powerful content marketing tool that also enables you to repurpose your episodes into blogs and posts and social media snippets and email newsletters and all of those type of things, right? This helps to attract and nurture your leads, driving traffic to your podcast. This is absolutely essential. Welcome to the training. And so for joining me. And so it is super, super important that this be a part of your strategy, right? This is going to help you to increase your visibility. It's going to help you to find opportunities for networking and collaborating, whether you're on a guest podcast or whether you are actually doing solo podcasts or interview podcasts, right? And so it helps to expand your network. Not only that, it helps to diversify your revenue, right? There'll be opportunities in podcasting as your audience grows. There'll be opportunities to monetize your podcast. A lot of people, want to know, well, what's the first thing that I do in order to monetize? How do I diversify my revenue, right? Well, there are a lot of ways. You can do merch like this. caps, t-shirts, what have you. As your audience grows, right, you can do sponsorships. People think that that's the number one way to diversify your revenue on a podcast, but it really isn't. Because a lot of times when you try to reach out to sponsors and everything, they have a long list of people that want them to sponsor their podcast, right? But what about affiliate marketing, right? You are probably already using a product that you love. I know I am, that you can showcase and talk to other people on your podcast about what you are doing. Premium content offers, offer your products, offer your services as a consultant or a service-based entrepreneur. Then you have the opportunity to do that. But what happens is, what I have seen is that a lot of people want to start diversifying before they have a solid foundation in terms of their podcast. And as I mentioned before, I've launched 3 podcasts. The first one, I had no idea what I was doing. The second one I did with my former business partner. But this one, it's on and popping, right? And so that's why I am here. I am here to help you help you create a roadmap. And at the end of this 5-day challenge, you'll have a roadmap for launching your podcast. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome, Melissa. I am so excited that you are here. And I hope you're not driving. Are you driving?
No, I'm not. I had to stop because I want to start a podcast too, and I've missed the first 2. So I'm like, oh God, let me sit down and tune in and see what's going on. So thanks for
Well,
having me.
I am so excited that you are here. Every day, I never know who is going to join me. So some days it's small, sometimes it's large, but hopefully you're getting the replays. The replays are actually going out via email. If
Yes, I
not, I'll
see
make
them.
sure. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. So, but there's nothing like interacting live, right? I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
energy, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so that's what this is all about. I'm going to ask you, Melissa. So do you have, where are you in your podcasting journey? Have you already started? Or what?
I'm at the very beginning stages. So I
Okay.
have a new business that I'm starting, and because I realized in my business, I was trying to look for a service to offer because
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on an affirmation book for Black women specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And my intention for my business, for my book, just overall is to help the African diaspora
Mm-hmm.
to reclaim their indigenous rights. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I do.
So I believe, I mean, there's tons of stuff I can talk about. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm interested in starting a podcast. Like
Yeah.
we need to talk about it. The elephant in the
Yeah.
room needs to be talked about because this is
Yeah.
an everyday experience for us, and
Yeah.
I have a lot to say. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, like I said, I am super excited that you are here, and I encourage you to definitely, check out the replays. They're like I said, they're going out, on a daily basis. They will come down on Monday night. Excuse me, on Monday night at midnight. They will come down. And the reason that I did that, Melissa, and for those who are watching the replay, is because I don't want this to be just information you consume. That's why we give assignments at the end, so that you can actually be implementing some of the things that we're talking about, right? And
Okay.
so, because as information, you can find that everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
And so, but if you're implementing the strategies that we're talking about here, then you're going to get closer to your goal. You're going to get closer to starting that podcast, and not just full of
yes.
information that kind of get lost up here,
Mm-hmm.
because you've consumed, so much. But when you're implementing, it's like it creates that momentum, right? It's like, okay, I got that done. Okay, what's next? And so that's why I encourage people not to just consume. I mean, it's like so many of us, we have PDFs and audio recordings and videos and all this stuff on our desktop that's just sitting there. And so I am so passionate about helping people to get their messages to the masses. I don't want you just have stuff sitting on your desktop, your virtual
Ooh,
desktop. I want
in
you
the
to
right spot.
implement the stuff.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
why
that's
I'm
true.
passionate
Okay.
about this. Yeah. So we're going to get right back into the content. There may, like I said, there may be some other people joining. There may not. It may be just you and I. And if you have to jump off, it's perfectly okay. I'm going to continue with the flow, baby. I'm going to continue with the flow.
I give you my undivided time. So special.
And so as I was saying, this is really designed to create a roadmap for you. And so if you are a newbie, or even if you've already started, like Melissa is saying, this will work for you because you will have a solid roadmap. Right. And so also at the end of the 5-day challenge, which is Friday, there will be an opportunity if you want to join me, just in case you don't get everything done, because we got jobs, we got family, we got stuff going on, we got businesses, things like that. And so sometimes we're not able to do that. So at the end of the 5-day challenge is an opportunity to work with me on a VIP day. It's only $147. I've put the link in the chat. And we just come together and get it all done in one day. Okay. And so it's an implementation day. So I just wanted to make sure that, that I, say that. So Melissa, you got your hand raised. What's up?
Okay, so is it like a coaching, like a one-on-one coaching?
It's a one-on-one support and implementation day. So what
Okay.
that means is we come together
Mm-hmm.
on one day, and after you have consumed and listened to all of the 5-day challenge recordings, you implement some of the things, and the things that you have not been able to implement, we'll come together and make sure that you have everything that you need to launch your podcast at the end of that full day. So it's like
Oh,
from
okay,
10. Last time I did this, it was from 10 till 3. And so
okay.
people were able to launch their podcast basically because they've already gone through the 5-day challenge. And they, at that time, on that day, they were able to kind of fill in the gaps, right? And
Okay.
so that's an opportunity, for that I'm offering people, who, because some people are, they may come one day, just like what we've been talking about, and that's okay. And, I get it. So that's an opportunity that I'm offering people. It's only $147, which is a $300 saving. If it's just you and I, that's cool. Sometimes last time I did it, there was 4 of us. And so I just started, offering that because sometimes you assume that people know certain things. Like I had to, kind of go back through some basic things that I assume people already knew. And so I can't assume anything, right? And so, and plus there's just not enough time in 5 days to actually implement everything. It's strictly a roadmap, right? And so that's why I offer that. So that's a great question, Melissa. Thank you so much for asking that. Was that helpful?
Yes, and also I want to respect the time that you have for the workshop, but off of this workshop, I would like to talk to you more in depth on my business.
Sure.
Let you know exactly, like my intention and
Yes.
the flow that I have, and how, like
Yeah.
why I want to launch and the whole nine. So
Absolutely. And that's what that covers. So what happens
okay.
is once once you and you're driving, so I don't want to put that in
No, no,
the.
no. I'm not driving.
Oh, okay.
I'm parked.
You're in the car, so it just looks like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
driving.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm parked. I'm good.
But anyway, so the what happens is, so there's a link that I will put in the chat,
Mhm.
and where you can go and find out a little bit more, make your payment. Then we get on to talk about what your goals are, because we can't do anything unless I know where you want to go, right?
Exactly. Okay.
So we talk about what your goals are. So we'll have that session so that when we come to the VIP day, we'll know exactly
What we're gonna get.
what we're gonna be doing, right?
Okay.
So
Makes
that's
sense.
what it involves. So what I'll do is let me go ahead and pull that up, and uh, let's see here. And the other thing is that you get all of the challenge replays, and as well as one of the things that I offer when people take me up on this opportunity, you will get an opportunity to be a guest on my podcast so that we can announce to the world that you're launching your podcast. Okay.
Okay. Nice.
And so I've had a client that actually she got a hang on, let me put this in here while I'm talking. I'm not that good at multitasking.
No, it's okay.
So it's in there now, but I'll also, since you've already signed up, you'll definitely get the link for that as well. But it's an opportunity to be a guest on my podcast where we're talking about your business and your podcast, as well as your experience with me. So it's like twofold, but it definitely gives you an opportunity to talk about your podcast, because you can have the best podcast in the world. If nobody knows you exist, then you're just another podcast, right? And so we want to help you as much as possible to get more eyeballs and visibility to your podcast. So yeah, so some of the things that we're going to be talking about even today is going to help you, in that endeavor, even before you get to, the VIP, right?
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
yes.
All right.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So let's continue, because today we're going to be talking about how to cultivate a loyal audience. So the first day we talked about clarifying your podcast niche, which is so important, crafting compelling content, and then today we're talking about cultivating a loyal audience. And so here's the thing. A lot of people, they want to have these great big audiences, right? But you can start with your audience, start with your people. I am a huge proponent of starting, or telling people to start with what you have. Start with where you are. Use and leverage the audience that you already have. So if you have a business already, if you have a social media presence already, if you've been networking already, even if it's just family, start with what you have. There was a lady I'm in a mastermind, right? And so she launched a podcast. She got clients from her podcast, and she had less than 100 people in her community. And so I can't remember the figure. I think she was selling like $5,000 coaching services, right? But she started with a small audience. So it's not the quantity, it's the quality, right? It's the quality. If people are loyal to you, they're following you because they can't wait to hear all about what you got to say. So
I have so much to say.
yes. And so when people, when they are loyal to you, they want, like there are podcasts, like I can't wait to, like I'm waiting, I have it on notification when whether it's a YouTube video or it's a podcast, I have my notifications on because I can't wait to hear what else they got to say. right? So you have people like that. I have people like that. And so when you are doing that in a way very strategic, then you can get, clients, you can get, leads, you can get people that's going to help to facilitate your podcast because, they love you. And, we as women, we're going to tell people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about it. And so, cultivating a loyal audience is super, super important because it actually helps for long-term success and the growth of your podcast, right? It because it engages your listeners and they're more likely to share your content, leave reviews, support you in your podcasting endeavors by word of mouth marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. So what do you got, Melissa?
Okay. So while you were saying that, what came to my mind was so many times in the past when I would be talking to like my friends or family about topics on colorism, featureism, texturism, just things that we encounter on a daily basis, as I mentioned, as Black people. And a lot of my friends and family, they would look at me and they'd be like, wow, Melissa, like you should talk about this. Like,
Right,
you should do something with this because you're very compelling and I would
right.
love to listen to you.
Yeah,
Just a pointer to everyone else that's gonna listen.
yeah,
Pay attention, like really think back because whatever you're going to talk about is stuff that people already affirmed you at some time
yes,
in your life that you should talk about.
yes,
And that's
absolutely.
and that's when it's genuine.
That's right. That's exactly right. You're definitely on point.
Mhm.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah. So exactly what you're saying. They're more likely to engage with you because what you're saying resonates with them, right?
Yeah, word.
So yeah. So let me give you a few statistics, and then I'll get into a couple of practical tips on this, and then we will kind of move forward. So a statistic that I found was that the average podcast loses around 20% of its audience after the first episode, and another 15 to 20% with each subsequent episode. So they lose 20% after the first episode, and then 15 to 20 cent more, 20, not 20 cent, 20% more after the subsequent episode. But when you have a loyal audience, when you cultivate a loyal audience, you can gain and retain 70% of your listeners with a loyal audience, right? Um, and so that was one statistic that I wanted to definitely share. The other thing is that podcasters with loyal audiences have a platform, right? You have a platform that you can use to impact people, affect meaningful change, like exactly what you're talking about, Melissa, influence listeners, their opinions, their behaviors, their beliefs, whether it's raising awareness about something or just providing valuable insights and education around your podcast. So your loyal listeners are really going to help you to get your message to the masses, and you'll be able to impact, because that's what it's all about. It's about impact and impacting and leaving a legacy. And I don't know about you, I'm all about leaving a legacy, right? I want, at the end of the day, it was like, you know what? She was the one that helped me to get my message out because she was talking about podcasting. And there were things that I didn't know that she really helped me and encouraged me, to do. And now my message is out to the masses. So that is a part of, my legacy. So what if you're saying, okay, my niche isn't popular enough, or I'm not natural at marketing, or there's too much competition in my niche. Well, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? That is really not true. because the only competition you have is yourself, right? Because what's going on up here in your brain, when you don't, if you don't start to do what you feel like you're being called to do in this assignment, right, then that's going to be your competition, because you're telling yourself, oh my gosh, there's too much competition, the market is saturated, blah blah blah. Nobody has your unique experience, your voice. And I don't care if they're doing the same thing that you do, it doesn't matter, right? But the thing is to start where you are with what you have, the audience that you have, and it will grow as long as you are speaking to the people that resonate with you and getting the message out there. You gotta start somewhere. I mean, I can't say that enough. So competition, nah, you don't have any. Okay, there's that. Give me 1 second, Melissa. Um, and so, so start with what you have, because you already have a social media following. You already have followers. All you got to do is let people know what you're doing, right? Just let them know what you're doing. So it's important to cultivate a loyal audience. I think I've said that enough. So we'll talk about a few tips for doing that, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to say what you were going to say, Melissa.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it before, but another strategy, well, you did. I heard you saying something about monetizing and being able to create multiple streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I'm personally going to do with my venture is use my podcast to help to launch my book.
Absolutely.
And that's just something, because I was thinking for so long, I'm like, how can I launch my book to where, because I have to get the ball rolling first.
Right.
So I'm like, let me use social media. But the podcast makes so much sense, because I'll basically be talking about what I'm going to be putting in my book.
Absolutely.
So for entrepreneurs, again, it's not only for me, it's for everyone. Entrepreneurs, because we all have a message, we all have a story.
Absolutely.
And our story is what separates us from everyone else.
Exactly.
We are completely unique, and saturated industry is a good thing. That means that it's a proven concept.
There you go.
That means that
there
it works.
You go. You took the words out of my mouth. That's it, right there. Right there.
Exactly. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, when it comes to, like if you have a book or what have you, when it comes to that, you can start with your book and repurpose your content. And you start with one product, right? Start by creating one thing and repurpose everything else, right? And so, because you were saying that you do affirmations and things like that, just start. You start with what you have, So, but I'm a huge proponent of repurposing everything. You repurpose it into a blog, you repurpose it into a newsletter, you get people on your newsletter, you repurpose it into social media snippets, all of those type of things. And you start with one product. So you're on the right track. So here's a couple of tips that I wanted to just share about cultivating an audience, a loyal audience. Offer actionable strategies for I can't even get it out. For cultivating a loyal audience among your listeners. You want to make sure that your content strategies or your content creation is consistent. Just like I was just saying a few minutes ago, that I have notifications of my favorite podcasts, right? Or my favorite YouTube podcasts, because some people do. I focus more on audio podcasting because I love audio, but I do events, virtual events as well, like, the 5-day challenge and things like that. But being consistent, just like your favorite programming, like you may have something that you watch on TV, like when it doesn't air, you're like, well, I was waiting for that show to come on this Tuesday, right? So people want you to be consistent. And if you can't create consistency, you're going to lose people, right? Make sure that you show up on a consistent basis. Engage with your audience, encourage feedback and interaction, just like what we're doing right now. I'm encouraging, feedback, and because that helps me to refine my product and my presentation. Because sometimes, from the feedback from other people, it's like, oh, you know what? I never thought about doing that. That's a great idea. I'll share that, either on the podcast or in the community or what have you. So you want to encourage feedback. So like at the end of your podcast, ask a question. Hey, what was your thought on the podcast? What was your thought on what I just shared? Right? You can ask them for feedback. Right. And so that helps you in creating loyal audience. The other thing, when you create a loyal audience, when you ask people for feedback, they feel like they're a part of your journey, right? It's like, yeah, she even mentioned me on her podcast. I asked, a certain question, things like that. That helps people to feel like they are a part of the journey, right? And so you will definitely want to encourage feedback and interaction. Always provide value, right? Always provide value, whether it's informative or entertaining kind of, podcast or what have you. Make sure that you are providing value and content that resonates with your audience. And again, fostering. And, I talk about community. I may have not talked about it on this episode, but fostering a sense of belonging with your listeners when you create community around it, because there's going to be other people that love what you're talking about. So you create a community around it, right? I have a community for business and podcasting, females who are in business and who want to podcast. So I have a community around that, right? And so you will foster a sense of belonging when you do that, right? And again, stay open to feedback, and so that you can continuously improve your presentation, your podcast, your your social media snippets or whatever it is. Then you want to adapt. So I've been doing this 5-day challenge. I think this is the fourth month. And so each time, based on the feedback that I get from other people, I try to incorporate some of those things in the next 5-day challenge, right? Because if they're asking, someone else may be asking the same thing, right? And it was like, oh yeah, I wanted to ask that question, but now she answered it, right? So you definitely want to be open, to continuously improve your podcast, and you want to be open to feedback, on that. So here is your assignment. Your assignment is to, and Melissa, you're already on the right track, but your assignment is to brainstorm a plan to increase visibility for your podcast. Because if you start now, right, letting people know that it's coming, then they're going to be looking for it because they're already loyal to you. Like, man, it's about time she start this podcast. I can't wait, And so you share, your journey. Like, I'm going to be launching my podcast, on the 5th of May, or whatever. I'm going to be talking about so and so and so and so, whatever that is. And then ask them, hey, what would you like to hear on the podcast? So now you're getting them involved in it. They there's like a sense of belonging, and they can't wait, because now you're going to be talking about some of the things that they care about, right? So these are some of the ways that you can do this. So that's a part of your assignment. Develop a plan to increase visibility before your podcast comes out now, right? Because you want to get them buying in, right? You want to get the buy-in. Encourage audience engagement and interaction through calls to action. So if you, even if you don't have, let's just say you don't even have it set up yet, that's okay. That's okay, right? You can start gathering emails, right? You can, do a social media post or whatever and say, hey, I'm starting my podcast, and I'm going to be talking about so and so and so and so, comment yes if, you would be interested in that or something like that. And then I will DM you, how you can, find out more or something like that, right? So there's a call to action, right? And you can ask them, for their email address. And so you can start building your email address even before you even launch your podcast. So these are just some ways that you can start now getting people excited. One of the things that I did with, and I mentioned that, I've launched 3 podcasts. So when I started this one, which was about a year ago, and I've pivoted, quite a few times, but I had, because I was actually interviewing people who were 50 and over at the time. And so I, in those, interviews, I invited everybody who I had interviewed on my podcast and asked them to also invite their people on their email list. I created an event around it, right? You can create an event like on Facebook or whatever social media platform you're on. Create an event around the launch. It's like a grand opening, right? It's like a virtual grand opening, right? So create an event around it and get people excited, about it. And so these are just some, suggestions in terms of brainstorming about your upcoming podcast. So hopefully that made sense. So that is really all that I have. I want to encourage people to definitely take advantage of the I never did tell you what the name of the VIP is actually the Podcast Launch Accelerator. Take advantage of that. If anyone is interested in that, if you are listening to the replay or what have you, that is a $300 savings. You'll get all of the replays for the challenge. You will get be on a guest on my podcast. That 1-day VIP is a 1-day VIP to implement all the things that we're talking about from the framework that we're already establishing, the roadmap that we're already establishing. And then there's going to be other stuff that comes up. So it's really that time to take a deep dive and get it done in 1 day. So I'm going to open up for additional questions. If you have additional questions, then I am open to that. So let's go. What you got?
Is there an email or a way that we can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So let's see. If you want to get on my calendar, I'm going to put that in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. And so what it is, it's how you can grab a 15-minute strategy session to just talk about, where you want to go and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, let me put that there. Basically, it is chatwithdream.com. So there's the link in there.
Okay.
And then so you'll get on my calendar for that. And we'll talk about, where you're trying to go and see if I can help you, get where you're trying to go. So yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, with that, if there are no other questions, we are at just about at the top of the hour. And we will go ahead and let you go and let Melissa get back on the road
Hmm.
and get to where she's going. I have truly enjoyed this. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about. Hang on, let me see what's on there tomorrow, which is day 4. We will be talking about setting up your recording studio. So creating your studio. And so I'll be sharing, a few tips on that. Most people want to start there, but that's not where you start. You got to start with clarifying your niche, creating compelling content, and cultivating your audience before you even think about, what kind of microphone do I need? What kind of, equipment do I need? All that kind of stuff. Because you can have the best equipment, this microphone right here, I've had it for a few years. I got it from Amazon. I think it was less than $59 or something. But there are some links when you get the replay. There's some links that will that with equipment and everything that you can click on to see, some of the stuff that I use as well. So when you get the replay. So anyway, that is it. But that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, creating your recording studio. So if you can join me tomorrow, that would be awesome. If not, then check out the replay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining me, Melissa.
Thank
Get
you.
back on the road, girl.
All right. I
All right.
appreciate it.
You are so
Have a
welcome.
beautiful day.
You too. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.